Bethlehem was crowded that night. Travelers filled the streets searching for places to stay. But inside a humble shelter, Mary and Joseph were preparing for a night they would never forget. Mary was tired from the long journey. She quietly rested, trusting God through every moment. Joseph stayed close, caring for her and preparing everything they needed. Outside, Bethlehem slowly became quiet. The noise of the crowded streets began to fade. But inside that humble shelter, something extraordinary was about to happen. For generations, God's people had waited for the promised Savior. Prophets had spoken of his coming. Now the promise was closer than ever. Mary had trusted God's message from the very beginning. She did not know everything that would happen, but she knew one thing: God's promise could be trusted. Joseph had also learned to trust God. He had accepted the responsibility of caring for Mary and the child. Now he stayed beside her, ready for whatever came next. Then the moment they had been waiting for arrived. Mary gave birth to her firstborn son. The promised child had entered the world. Mary carefully wrapped the newborn child in cloth. He was small and helpless, yet Christians would come to know him as the Savior of the world. Joseph looked at the child with wonder. This was the baby God had entrusted to them. The long journey had brought them to this moment. Jesus was not born inside a royal palace. There were no crowds of kings around him. The Son of God entered the world in humility. Mary laid Jesus in a manger. A simple feeding place became the first resting place of the newborn king. The scene was humble, but its meaning was extraordinary. Joseph carefully made the manger comfortable. He added clean hay and cloth. Mary watched quietly as they prepared a peaceful place for the child. Mary and Joseph looked at their newborn child. For a moment, everything around them seemed still. They were simply a mother, a father, and a newborn son. Above Bethlehem, the night sky stretched across the quiet land. The world continued as usual, yet history had just changed forever. Most people sleeping that night had no idea what had happened. They did not know that a child had been born who would become the center of the greatest story ever told. Mary looked at her newborn son and treasured the moment in her heart. She remembered God's promise. The words spoken to her months earlier had become reality. Joseph also stood in quiet gratitude. He had trusted God when the path was uncertain. Now he could see that every step had led them here. The child in the manger looked ordinary to the world, but his birth represented something far greater. God's promise of a Savior had been fulfilled. Long before Bethlehem, prophets had spoken about the coming Messiah. God's plan had been unfolding for generations. Now the promise had reached its appointed time. This was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. The child in the manger would grow up and change the lives of countless people. Through the night, Mary and Joseph remained close to Jesus. The stable was simple. The surroundings were quiet, but their hearts were filled with wonder. God did not choose a palace for the Savior's arrival. He chose humility, he chose a simple family, and he chose an ordinary place to begin an extraordinary story. The waiting was over. The promised child had arrived. What God had promised, he had fulfilled. Soon, others would hear the news. Shepherds would come. People would begin to speak about what had happened in Bethlehem. The message would spread far beyond that little town. Bethlehem would never be remembered as just another town. That night, a child was born there, and the story of Jesus had begun. The Savior had been born, but the world was only beginning to hear the news. In the next episode, we will follow the shepherds who received an incredible message from heaven and came searching for the newborn Savior. Don't miss episode 6. Like this video if this story touched your heart. Subscribe to the channel for the next chapter of the Jesus story. Turn on notifications so you don't miss episode 6. The story continues. God bless you.